Hello, students. How are you all? My name is Raima, and I'm a biology expert here at Ask IITians. As you might have noticed, this is the first video of the topic that I'm going to introduce. But before introducing the topic, let me jog your brains a little bit. And for that, I'm going to show you two things here I have with me in my inventory. You don't have to wonder, there is a potato and a tomato in my hand. So, these two things we obtain from the plants and we use them for our nutrition. Just like these two vegetables, we get fruits also from the plants, and fruits also are used by not only human beings but the other animals also for nutrition. So, nutrition is the basic necessity of an organism's life. But we are not going to explore nutrition in other organisms, but the producers of our planet. So let's begin. And I'm going to share the screen with you. Nutrition in plants. So the topics that we are going to cover in this video includes mode of nutrition in plants, photosynthesis, with respect to the anatomy of leaf, and finally with the structure of chloroplast. So when we talk about nutrition, nutrition is the way by which any organism uh, uh, obtain food to get energy. Okay, so basically there are various modes of nutrition which are found in organisms, and on the basis of those modes of nutrition, the organisms are either called autotrophs or heterotrophs. So autotrophs are those organisms which can synthesize their own food with the help of raw materials which are available in their surroundings. Heterotrophs, on the other hand, they obtain nutrition but by depending upon other organisms. So, among the autotrophs, there are chemoautotrophic organisms and photoautotrophic organisms. Chemoautotrophic organisms are, for example, green and purple sulfur bacteria. These are the bacteria which live in extreme conditions like volcanoes, around the volcanoes where sulfur springs are present, and they do not use water and carbon dioxide. Instead, they use some other hydrogen donor, just like water, which is present in their surroundings. So they use chemical substances other than the normal substances which are used for the photosynthesis process. They use those chemical substances which are present in their surroundings are known as chemoautotrophic organisms. The photoautotrophic organisms, on the other hand, are the green plants. Green plants, they have chlorophyll, they use sunlight, and they use up the water and carbon dioxide and convert it into glucose, and oxygen gas is also released. Basically the photosynthesis process. So such organisms who photosynthesize are known as photoautotrophic organism. Heterotroph, on the other hand, are saprophytic, parasitic, symbiotic, and insectivorous uh, organisms. Saprophytic are those organisms like fungi which depend on dead and decaying matter. They decompose dead and decaying matter and obtain nutrition from them. Parasitic organisms, on the other hand, can be anything like the malarial parasite. Okay, it causes malaria. Basically, parasitic organisms, they cause diseases, and they always live inside a living host. Parasites are always smaller in size. Okay, and the host on which they depend, it is always bigger in size. So parasites, they depend upon the living host and absorb nutrition from them. Symbiotic organisms, on the other hand, are those organisms where both of them benefit each other. This is basically a relationship. A symbiotic relationship exists between two organisms where both of them are benefiting each other. For example, lichens. Lichens is an association between algae and fungi. Algae is providing nutrition to fungi, and fungi is providing shelter to algae. Algae obviously photosynthesizes. Insectivorous plants are those plants, these are plants basically. So these are those plants which obtain nutrition by eating insects. Now, this should be understood that they photosynthesize. They are already photosynthesizing, but they obtain their nutrient requirement by consuming insects. For example, um, Venus flytrap is there. Pitcher plant is very common. Another example. So, these are the two modes of nutrition. Let's move on. With the photosynthesis process. Photosynthesis, like I said, it is the process which takes place in the presence of light and chlorophyll, and carbon dioxide and water is used up to produce sugar, and oxygen gas is also released during this process. So, here basically we have to explore the anatomy of leaf, and anatomy of if we look at the anatomy of leaf. If you look at the anatomy of leaf, before discussing the anatomy of leaf, I will show you the equation of photosynthesis, which usually is written like this in most of the books. Light and chlorophyll, C6H12O6, plus 6 molecules of oxygen are also released. This is how it is written in most of the books. But this equation is wrong. Instead of having 6 molecules of water here, the plant uses 12 molecules of water, because 6 molecules of water are also released during the photosynthesis process. So this is the correct definition, this is the correct equation of photosynthesis process. Okay, so let's move on to the anatomy of leaf. Anatomy of leaf means the internal structure of leaf, where we have to discuss where exactly, how exactly the structure of leaf is conducive to the process of photosynthesis. So, first of all, cuticle. The leaf is covered by a layer of wax, which is known as cuticle. This prevents any kind of water loss through the surface of the leaf. You can also see a layer of epidermis on the upper surface and the lower surface of the leaf. This is just a single layer, and below the epidermis, there are mesophyll cells. So there are two types of mesophyll cells: palisade mesophyll cells, which are longer and they are arranged symmetrically, and spongy mesophyll cells, which are smaller than the palisade ones, and they are arranged asymmetrically also, with a lot of air spaces in between them. So this is an air space. These are all the air spaces. These air spaces, they are in contact with the stomata. Okay, stomata are tiny little pores through which gaseous exchange takes place in the plants. Stomata are more on the undersurface of the leaf as compared to the upper surface, and these stomata, through the stomata, carbon dioxide can enter and oxygen can come out. So let's explore more about the structure of stomata through which gaseous exchange occurs. So this is the stomatal pore, and stomatal pore is always surrounded by guard cells. The guard cells are surrounded by the epidermal cells, and there are chloroplasts also inside the guard cells. Okay, that means the guard cells are also involved in the photosynthesis process. You can see the difference between the two diagrams where on the left hand side the stomata is open and on the right hand side the stomata is closed. So this is where carbon dioxide will go in and oxygen will come out. But this only happens during the day. During the day, the stomata is open, carbon dioxide can easily go in, and oxygen can easily come out. But at night, this process is stopped and the stomata is closed. Okay, gaseous exchange is very important because carbon dioxide is the most important raw material for the process of photosynthesis. Another important structure to explore in the process of photosynthesis is chloroplast. So, what are chloroplasts? Chloroplasts are the organelle. They are a type of plastid, right? And they are green in color, green due to the presence of chlorophyll. So, the presence of chlorophyll explains everything. Presence of chlorophyll answers the question why we are discussing chloroplast in the photosynthesis process, because chlorophyll that actually absorbs the sunlight, that traps the sunlight, is present in the chloroplast. So I'm going to show you the structure of chloroplast.